Now to our first conversation today. Obviously, tomorrow was supposed to be the D-Day for the governorship and state assembly elections, but the Independent National Electoral Commission announced the postponement of the election, citing a logistics crisis stemming from BVAS configuration and transportation. But what is the cost of this postponement to Africa's biggest economy? Let's talk to Mr. Paul Alaje now, senior economist, SPM Professionals, join us via Zoom. Good morning, great to have you. Good morning, Mr. Alaje.
Good morning, and thank you so very much for having me.
Fantastic. It's great to have you. So, I know you're not in Nigeria right now, but, right here, most Nigerians were hoping we could be, done with the elections and get on with our lives. And we know INEC, budgeted about 355 billion naira for this exercise for the 2023 election. But first, let's talk about the budget now. How do you see it? It's an increase, obviously, from the last time.
Well, there is an unprecedented increase from the last time. The increase is over 60% compared to what we had in 2019, 61.37%. That was the increase INEC added to 2019 budget to give 2023 budget. That one. On the second hand, the approximately 34.57% of the budget was just to buy equipment, devices, including GIVAS, that has been alleged not to load, from polling units, electoral devices. We also have not less than 7.79% on honorarium, lecturers, ad hoc staff, those who had come to support INEC. 7.54% was on logistics, was budgeted on logistics, and this fund, of course, had been released. And for the voting material, talking about ballot papers, 6.78% was budgeted. So if you ask me, I think this amount of money budgeted for INEC had sufficient money to carry out a proper and organized elections without any form of delay. All the monies I've considered, we've looked at all the monies that have been budgeted for, and the ones that INEC have received. We believe that this election should have been very smooth, should have been very fair, without any form of delays at all, as most of the budgetary allocations were for the purpose. But when you also look at this volume, a lot of people might be wondering, why do we have to increase between 2019 to 2023 the election budget by 61.37%? I'll tell you that when you look at exchange rate, a number of things that we don't look at, we just look at figures. We are Nigerians, but when you look at the machine, accreditation equipment, devices that INEC is using, they are not made in Nigeria. Average cost per dollar, and I will put it as dollar because most of these equipment are imported. For 2023, according to INEC report, INEC project electoral project plan, it was at $5.39 per voter. For 2019, it was at 6.24 per voter. So the thing is, we have had more people expected in this election. INEC had projected about 100 million people for 2023 election, even though we are not seeing up to that number. But it's a safe corridor for the commission to ensure that people really come out in their numbers. In fact, this budget also made provision for about 8% of possible rerun between two major political parties if that had happened. And that was 8.89, approximately 9%, was what INEC had made provision for.
Looking at where we are with the elections now and the amount earmarked budgeted for the elections, do you think we're getting value for money?
The truth is that we are not getting value for money. You've seen that 2 or 3 major political parties ran to courts to say that uploading information was done or was not done. I think INEC would have helped us to put rest to all of these if the promises based on the available devices was done. And I can tell you that, do we have a correct device? I will tell you yes. Was it possible that this information would have been made available? Yes, they should have been made available. Now, INEC has caused some level of confusion, even though substantially we have a president-elect in the person of Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. is the president-elect. It has been declared. That's what the law says. And I'm happy that some other candidate has not turned Nigeria into a turmoil. They have chosen the path of honor to go to court to inspect the material and also to challenge the victory of Senator Tinubu in court. I think that is the right thing to do rather than bringing down the country. So I must salute people that have taken such decision. But more importantly, do we have value for this election? Do we have value for money that has been allotted? The answer is a big no. I don't think we have value for monies. I think INEC should be more accountable, and INEC should also give reasons why this has not been done. I will give you one of the excuses that have been given time and again by INEC. It's been logistics, apart from the device uploading, which is relatively new because of 2023 election and adoption of partial technology into the process. Before now, what we have seen is technology. What we have seen is that logistics. You see, I think INEC by now should have partnered with private sector, not association. Private sector, private or organized private sector within the industry, logistic industry. And INEC would have held people responsible. You would have held, I don't want to mention the name of different logistic companies we have in Nigeria, but we have a lot of them that are doing well for themselves. There could even be synergy between 3, 4, 5, depending on the strength in a region. But unfortunately, INEC has not been able to work with these people. If you have done that, there would have been no insinuation of maybe INEC has collaboration with a group or INEC has special interest, which is what many people have been talking about. But I hope that in the coming elections, INEC will pre-qualify privately owned logistic company. And I can tell you that this will really save Nigeria for postponing election on logistic basis. And on the device basis, I strongly believe, even though court has granted INEC the permission to configure, of course, that does not mean that the previous result to be erased. The previous result will be valid. If you have your computer, I don't think before you want to, because maybe you have something typed on Word document and you want to configure, you want to install Corel Draw, what document you have done will suddenly disappear. That's not it. So I think our people should put their mind to rest. I'm happy peace is reigning in Nigeria. We should allow the process to continue, and eventually, I believe we will have a great nation.
Yeah, and talking about election materials now, you did mention, some of these materials, we have to import them. And I do remember, some of the printing materials. The INEC chairman did promise to print, most of them right here in Nigeria. I don't know how far, they went with that. But, looking at some of these devices, obviously, we don't have the technology to produce them. What do we do?
Well, we don't have the technology to produce them, and we need to start considering the implication of giving 34.57% of over 3 billion out just for one election. This is just for one election. Now, for the next election, some of the devices might still be used. Some of them might have been retired. Technology might have even phased them out. We need to understand that the world is not waiting for us. Nigeria must appreciate knowledge. We must encourage young people within the space of ICT, within technology, for their apps and, more importantly, their devices to be embraced by government. And this will send a lot of signal to private sector. We cannot continue to lose add-in effects to importation of what is possible, what could be done in Nigeria. And I tell you, there are countries in the world today, including where I am now, there are countries in the world today that have made manufacturers to establish within their territory. If not, they've made policy environment without saying it directly. There are policies that will be very difficult and things that will be very difficult for that nationality to achieve. Nigeria imports most of our television. Look at our number, look at different homes. The kind of growth we are seeing in Nigeria. Can it be heard that most of the television we watch in Nigeria up till now are still being almost 100% imported? What would be wrong if we say that, yes, you can pre-produce, but coupling and finishing must be done in Nigeria? And that is the part to develop. I hope authority will listen and start looking at how do we make Nigeria to have the kind of size, the kind of economic size that is required for the population. And I hope that in the coming period, we'll start seeing some of these changes.
All right, let's try and count the costs now of the postponement. What will it cost Nigeria economically, with this postponement of governorship elections and state assembly elections?
Well, it's going to cost Nigerians a lot. It's going to cost time. It's also going to cost financial resources. Already, several hotels might have been booked for weddings on the 25th. It's now being cancelled. Potential income has been shifted. Some flights might have even been cancelled, and people are not really settled as to what the next plan will be. And also locally, those that want to do their business, that make arrangement, contracts with all the confidence INEC gave a lot of Nigerians, the election will not be postponed. So there's a lot of disruption that has happened because of this 1 week postponement of election. And because people want to live their life, people also want to participate in the electoral process. This could even discourage people that might want to come out. But I'm calling on all Nigerians because I'm of course, going to be around. I was around for presidential election in Nigeria. And of course, with this postponement, I will also be in Nigeria to ensure that I carry out my civic responsibility and my duty as a citizen of Nigeria.
And what do you think can be done to create some kind of buffer, for this cost for the economy?
Well, what I think INEC should do is to, first of all, make sure this kind of plan is made much earlier so that people plan. Again, Nigerians, we also need to have plan B, especially during election here. You know that there is an agency of government, National Population Commission, is also planning population census, whether it will be locked down, which I think is not necessary, or not, is another conversation entirely. So I think government should also try and provide some succor to people, which may include logistics movement and so many other support for the Nigerian people.
All right, let's look at other matters now in the economy. In the first quarter now, we've had to deal with demonetization program by the CBN, elections, fuel queues. How will all of this play into the inflation story for February? And can the MPC rein in inflation at this rate? Really? Can they really rein in inflation?
Well, it's going to be very tough because if you go to the street of Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt, many major cities in Nigeria, you see queue for fuel. People are trying to buy fuel, so they are losing man-hour. They are also buying parallel market at relatively higher rates. We have not seen major reduction in FX, which of course is accountable for some of our imports, where when FX is not readily available for people to buy and the time it takes to process through banks. So that is another challenge. The third challenge that we may have regarding all of this is even election postponement business that should have been completed. And if you look at MPC in January, the report for inflation showed that inflation even increased. So when you are looking at what inflation will be, I'm not seeing a significant reduction if there will be any, but we may just have a minor increase in inflation because already it's high at over 21%. So if we are not living over we might still be within the corridor of 21% or a bit upper part of 22%. But I hope that authority will need to do something about it. MPC continue to use monetary tools to rake in inflation that is not solely a monetary function. And I think fiscal authority will understand that in advanced economies, there are no traditional rules. Traditional role for monetary authority would be to have stability, price stability, exchange rate stability. But when you look at what is causing inflation, you see imports, which means we need to talk to trade authority. In Nigeria, in my opinion, I think trade authority have been reduced to SME of some sort, rather than looking at what is happening in international trade, which is the effective conversation I think trade authority must have to actually help this country. Most of the FX challenges that we have seen that central bank is struggling and authority are struggling to deal with, it is because of little or no export, even though we continue to import. For instance, our import bill within a quarter for antibiotics is over 300 billion naira. And this is not my figure, this is according to the National Bureau of Statistics. You might want to check what the trade report looks like. And I hope that one day we are going to have a president that will look at our trade reports and call those that have been hired either in civil service or those that have been hired by political appointment, then ask questions until we are able to have that leader that can interpret reports coming out from the National Bureau of Statistics, among other agencies, honestly, it's going to be a tough moment for Nigeria. So for me, MPC will try, but even if they make decision in the next MPC meeting, I don't think the impact will be felt until the next 4 to 6 months.
And definitely, we have another activity that's going to cost us a lot of money, and that's talking about the population census. It's supposed to happen in 2023, and the federal government, they've hinted at not being able to afford this. It's supposed to cost about 869 billion naira. Is there a cheaper way to carry out this census?
Well, I think to carry out the census in Nigeria, we might need to use electronic means. It's important for us to use electronic means to carry out the census. And in doing this, I think Nigeria must understand that the world is fast becoming a global village. In the UAE, there is what we call the UAE Pass, where all citizens download apps and they do their facial biometrics, they do their finger biometrics. It costs the country really lower than, much lower than asking people to come one by one. The logistics, the time, and everything involved is crazy. But if we have apps and we adopt technology and optimize it, I think it will go a long way. But if we don't, I can tell you that some parts of Nigeria are highly overestimated in terms of population, and some are also underestimated in terms of population. For us to have the almost near accurate population, it's important we have another population census, which is, of course, overdue long time ago. But in doing this, using traditional method will just not work because our population has advanced and we need to adopt technology to spend almost half of what you have in the budget, because I think we can make do with half of what the commission is saying we need to do if right technology is adopted. And I hope that authorities that are listening will check other countries and see what apps or what device they can use to really help us, both facial and physical. Because if you send human being to be going from one point or the other, how do you even know that the person is a Nigerian? But if you adopt technology, it's going to go a long way to help us from where we are right now.
I believe technology can make it cheaper, because that's quite a huge amount we're seeing there. But thank you so much, Mr. Paul Alaje, Senior Economist, SPM Professionals. We'll leave it there now. Thank you so much for your perspective today.
Thank you so much for having me.